This is me in school, a small town kid who loved sports, but studies not my thing. I did average in 10th, barely survived 11th, and in 12th I missed the JEE cutoff percentage. So BTech was not an option and everyone in my house was worried. I had no idea what I wanted to do next. That's when my sister suggested something. She said, why don't you try BCA from VIT Vellore? We studied there, it's a good college and has a strong computer application program. So me and my dad packed our bags and flew all the way to Vellore, Tamil Nadu. Only to find out the last BCA seat was already gone. The only seat left was for a brand new degree called BSc Multimedia and Animation. I had almost zero idea what that degree meant, but we were already there and I had like no other option. So my family said, go ahead with it, at least it's something. I did not know it back then, but that one decision changed everything. That random degree became the starting point of my business, and in this video I'm not going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to start an agency in India. Instead, I'll tell you a story. The story of how I accidentally started a business. So if you're someone who feels stuck and if you're doing something that you don't want to do and you're taking steps you're not fully sure about but you want to do something big, this video is for you. Once I started college, I was honestly more miserable than before. This multimedia and animation course started with freehand sketching and drawing. And if you're someone who knows me, you would know that I'm like Ishan from Tare Zameen Par. I have a bad writing and even worse drawing. Every class felt like proof that I did not belong there. I didn't understand the language, and I still remember I just had one more North Indian friend in the class. Nobody spoke Hindi. Every single day felt the same, like I was wasting my time. That's how my first semester went by. Then came the second semester. That's when things started to get better. We were introduced to graphic design and web design. At first, I was bad at everything. And I was stuck in this loop. Try, fail, try again, fail again. But failure is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. With every assignment, I was not perfect, but I was slightly better than last time. And those small improvements started changing everything. And for the first time, I started enjoying college. I learned Photoshop and Illustrator, which gave me a solid base in design. Classes stopped feeling like burden. I started looking forward to them. Then came more subjects: photography, cinematography, 2D animation, 3D modeling, video editing, UI UX, game development. 2 years in, something interesting happened. I was not an expert at anything, but I was not clueless either. I had tried a lot of things, failed at many, and improved slowly. I knew the basics of multiple softwares. I had a broad foundation and a decent understanding of many skills. At that time, I did not feel special at all, but later this phase of trying and exploring everything made a good base for my career. Then one day after class, one of my friends asked me if I could help him with a project he got on a freelance platform called Fiverr. It was a simple video editing job and I already knew the basics of Premiere Pro, so I put together a video, and just like that I found a way to earn in college. Life was good, college was fun, and things were finally moving. And then COVID.
आज रात 12 बजे से घरों से बाहर निकलने पर पूरी तरह पाबंदी लगाई जा रही है.
Just when I started enjoying college, I had to leave in third year and go back to my hometown. Everything became stagnant again. Online classes were boring, days felt repetitive, but I had something I did not have before: time. So I decided to revisit everything I had learned. I did courses on Udemy for everything, practiced more, built project, worked on my portfolio. I remembered client work was possible, just like I had done with my friend. So I created my freelance profile on Fiverr and Upwork. For the next few months, I studied and practiced for 6 to 8 hours every single day. Lockdown life was very simple. Family time, studying, building projects, that's it. Then came my first freelance client on Fiverr. At that time, my profile was nothing special. I was literally selling video editing services for $5 per minute. I was not trying to do something big. I just wanted to get started. Then that one client snowballed into regular work. Alongside college, I also picked up 2 online internships. My routine was wake up, work, and sleep. I was almost working every hour I was awake. I had never been more focused, more happier. Every month I increased my prices. $5 became 10, 10 became 20, and 20 became 50. By the time college ended, I was already making 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees per month. Now for the next 2 years, I averaged about 30 to 40 projects every single month. Along with that, I had 2 internships going on. I did almost the same number of projects in 2021 and 2022 and the income stayed the same. I really did not see much growth. Working 12 to 16 hours every single day started to catch up. My health suffered, motivation dropped, creativity dipped. I started seeing more cancellation, more angry clients. That's when I realized something. I have hit my peak as a freelancer. And then I told myself I don't need to break that 2 lakh rupees mark every single month. Like I don't have anything to prove. What matters is the journey, the experiences, even the failures. Life is a battle and sometimes you accept that you have been beaten. It had been a long road and there was a lot to be proud of. And I thought maybe this is it. Well, fuck that. I can't just settle for mediocrity. I knew something had to change. In a small town, I had no exposure, no mentors, and no one to look up to. So I made the most uncomfortable decision of my life. I left my family, I left my friend, and moved to a new city where no one knew me. With no guarantees, no clear plan, just the belief that I would find a way out. Because you don't quit, you keep going. You do meaningless, stupid things for years, you get obsessed, you struggle in silence, and no one cares but you. But you keep showing up anyway. Because when you add all those small obsessions, all those invisible efforts, what they become is your life. In June 2022, I moved to Hyderabad. That single decision changed everything. Almost immediately, my performance went up. I became a top rated seller on Fiverr, work increased, confidence increased, and that's when I decided to hire. The biggest problem was this. Even though the business was growing, I was still doing all the client work myself, editing, revisions, communication, everything. Which meant I was busy all day and I was not really building something long term. So I had to do the hardest thing as a freelancer. Delegate. I started slow, one hire at a time. First, I hired people on contract basis. If they delivered consistently, I made them full time. There were challenges, mistakes, learning curves, but I kept going. I was running a service business, which simply means this. I wasn't selling a product, I was selling my time and skills. In my case, that meant providing video editing services for YouTube videos, ads, commercials, weddings, etc. In a service business, costs matter a lot because whatever you save on expensive directly increase your profits. So I kept the model very simple. Everyone I'll hire will work remotely and they would use their own setup. No office rent, no unnecessary expenses. That way I could keep costs low and maintain healthy profit margin, but a remote team comes with its own fears. I was worried about the quality and I thought no one would be able to match my standards. It did take me few months to hire and train my first team. There were few order cancellations in the beginning, but slowly things stabilized. 1 employee became 3, 3 became 5, and by the end of 2022, we were a team of 6 people. The business was growing fast. I was settling into Hyderabad, making new friends, building a life, and then everything came crashing down. In December 2022, I had my first red month. I realized I made a big mistake. I was too dependent on one platform for income. Freelance platforms are very powerful, but they're not stable. And this was the first time I experienced a real loss in business, which is when I decided that something had to change again. So I decided I need to diversify the business because I can't be too dependent on a single platform. So I built a business website and started looking for international clients. I started cold outreach, started reaching out to new people in hopes that I'll land monthly retainer clients. Now that's when the payment started to become a big thing. Because when you're running a small service business like mine, the profit margins are very tight and you try to cut or cover expenses wherever possible. And I noticed I was losing a lot of money in conversion. Most month I was withdrawing around $5,000 at a time, and even a small difference in exchange rate was eating into the profit margins. If you're new to this, exchange rate or FX rate is simply the rate at which your dollars or euros get converted to INR. One payment, it does not feel like much, but month after month that loss adds up to lakhs. And as a small business owner, saving money is as important as making money. That's when I started paying attention to how I was getting paid, and I came across Xflow. For example, here is a live payment that I got of $5,000 on Xflow. Now let's look at what actually lands in the bank for the same $5,000, same amount but 3 different platforms. So this is the live FX rate on Google right now, 91.70, which means 1 USD equals to 91 rupees and 70 paise. On PayPal, the FX rate right now is 87.4, which means I would receive around 4,38,200 rupees for the same $5,000. On Pioneer, the FX rate is 88.34, which means I would receive 4,41,700 rupees. But on Xflow, the FX rate is 91.64, which is closest to the actual market rate. So I would receive around 4,58,729 rupees. You can clearly see it. PayPal gives the worst FX rate right now. Pioneer is slightly better, and Xflow is the closest to the actual market rate. Xflow uses AI in the background to help identify better FX rate so you can withdraw at the right time and benefit the most. This is what I personally like about Xflow. First, I can see the live FX rate on the dashboard before withdrawing. Second, payments usually clear within 24 hours, which is really good for cash flow. And third, my clients don't need an Xflow account. They can pay via local transfer. So for them, it feels like sending money to local bank. Plus, I know where my payment is and when it's coming. If you're working with international clients, you can find the Xflow link in the description. Now with international retainer clients coming in, I finally expanded the team to 8 people and slowly took myself out of the day-to-day execution. For the first time, the business could run without me touching every single project. In 2023, I made another big decision and started creating content. That single move helped me diversify into 7 more income streams. I have already made a video around that, but this was the point when business finally stopped depending on single thing. From 2023 to 2025, I finally started seeing the results of all the hard work I have done since 2018. The business became more consistent and predictable. Month after month, we were crossing 10 to 13 lakh rupees every single month. The team got stronger, systems got better. I continued growing on freelance platform, but none of this happened overnight. And honestly, none of this would have happened if I didn't take that random degree, if I did not keep going during phases where nothing seemed to work. When I was in college, nothing made sense and I could not connect the dot. But 8 years later, looking back, everything makes sense. This reminds me of something Steve Jobs said. You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. But you have to trust that dots will somehow connect in your future. That belief is what gives you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the traditional path, and that makes all the difference. This quote can literally summarize my entire journey. So if you ask me today, how do I start a service business in India? I would honestly retrace my path. First, spend years on skill development. Get good at everything first. Explore, try, fail. Then eventually pick one skill you want to build on. Second, work under someone. Before starting alone, work with people like I did with my friends or like I did for internships. You learn faster when the pressure is not fully on you. Third, make your own luck. Luck does not randomly happen. You create it by putting yourself in the right places. For me, this was like creating my freelance profile when I didn't have the skill or the portfolio. Fourth, take uncomfortable risks. Every major jump in my life came from discomfort. Moving to a new city, hiring people, delegating, starting content when I was not confident. Growth never felt comfortable. That's how I knew I was doing it right. And fifth, invest in yourself. Between 2023 to 2025, a huge part of my growth came from this. Reading, eating better, working out, fixing my habits, small things done daily that compounded, and eventually I found a way to earn with my mind, not my time. So I did not build this 5 crore business because I had knowledge. I built it because I kept moving even when I was confused, even when nothing made sense. So if you're stuck right now, taking steps you're not fully sure about, trust me, you don't need clarity to start, you just need momentum. The dots will eventually connect, but till then, make sure you keep going. Don't forget to subscribe.